Welcome to the Startup Grind.
My name's Jake. I'm the founder and CEO of Threadless. I'm going to talk about how important it is to make things and to never stop making things. I never got a clicker. Oh, okay. So a little background about Threadless. I started it about 13 years ago as a hobby, really, while I was a sophomore in college. I was going to art school, and on the side I was a web developer. And so it was really just a hobby. I wanted to make cool things with my friends. So here's where it started. This is in the corner of my apartment, our first office. I like to put my computer up in front of the door so I wouldn't leave while I was working. This is our first logo, and this is our first website. It's terrible. It's really ugly. Very humble beginnings. And 12 years later, it's still about the same thing. We're about making stuff together. It's a lot bigger now. We've had a couple 100,000 artists submit designs to our site over the years, and millions of people buy from us. And so the way Threadless works, for those of you who aren't familiar, is artists come onto our site, submit ideas for designs. We make the best ones into products, and then we pay the artists for their work. And I'll show you a quick video about the process. Is there audio?
Up, submit it, and we'll make it live. You vote on yours and hundreds more from 1 to 5.
And if you do get printed, well then you get a surprise.
Cash money, watch your ideas come alive. You create and we all make great. You create and we all make great. We all make great. Together we all make great. Together and for some inspiration, fun and appreciation, check out some of what we all have done. Mr. Minton, milk loves and cookie, out of loose and Tommy Audrey, delicious pandemonium. We all make great. Together we all make great. Together we all make great.
So that was all shot around our... Oh, thanks. That was all shot around our office in Chicago, and you can see we have this really vibrant culture of just doing stuff and making things all the time. So that's really what I want to talk about is I believe that all of us have like a universal human need to make things. There's this guy, Jeff Howe, who was editor of Wired magazine, who coined the term actually crowdsourcing in 2004. And it was after he went on this, he actually like followed Warped Tour for a year and met all these people just doing stuff, you know, tattooing each other, writing poetry, creating animations, videos. And they weren't doing it because they wanted to make money from it, and they also weren't even doing it because they wanted it to be their careers. They were doing it simply for the joy of creation. And he said, this quote from Jeff Howe was, making stuff is the most joyful occupation in which we can engage. It's the closest we come to God. And I'm not a religious person at all, but that really hit me because I've entered like, you know, flow state where you're kind of creating things, and it's really just the best time. Even when it's, this girl ran a Kickstarter project for Freaker, these little like water bottle holders, and to thank everybody, she built this truck that has like a grilled cheese station inside of it and drove around the country thanking everybody who backed her Kickstarter project. So even when it's just like you want to go make grilled cheese sandwiches for everybody, it can be that simple. One of the beliefs I have is it's really important to learn how to make by making. When I was thinking about this, I thought all the way back to, I think the first thing I learned how to make by doing it was maybe like a mixtape or something where you're just like going through cassette tapes trying to figure out how to record from tape to tape. And then I remember building a tree fort by simply like pounding a board into the tree and then pounding the next one and then building from there and just learning how to do it by doing it. And my whole career has kind of like came from that. Like I learned HTML when my dad got his Prodigy in 1994, and I opened the web browser and clicked View Source and started to see how a website was put together and started doing it myself. And I learned Photoshop by opening up the program and clicking every single button in it until I figured out what they do. And it does, I mean, some people are afraid of that. Your computer's not going to blow up just to open these tools up and start messing around. You're going to learn a lot. And by doing it that way, you often do it in a new, different way that's not the proper way to do it. And that's a lot of times where innovation comes from. I think it's important to make yourself uncomfortable. I think that a lot of times when you're an expert in a field, you don't really know, you don't have anything more to offer because you already know everything. When you enter into a field as a complete amateur with fresh eyes, you're able to take a new approach to it that doesn't yet already exist. And starting Threadless, I made myself really uncomfortable by, I won this design challenge in this forum called dreamless.org where I submitted that design for an event. And then I started Threadless literally 1 hour after that by starting a thread on the forum saying, submit designs into this thread and I'll make the best ones into products that we can all have. And I had no idea how I was going to make t-shirts. I didn't know how I was going to charge credit cards online, how I was going to ship orders, or any of these things. But by telling a large group of people that I'm going to do it, made myself really uncomfortable and kind of forced myself to follow through on it. And I kind of did it in a really backwards way that worked out. Making unintended consequences. I think a lot of times when you're creating things for no other reason than creating it, you end up, you're not going to know what the outcome is necessarily. I turned my hobby into what became my living for the last over a decade, where, you know, that's our little office in 2002 to today we're in an old FedEx building. And that was not the intended outcome. Just keep working on the thing. Like, a lot of the best businesses, I think, are born from a joy of creation. There is this simple idea that turned into something much greater than what it was intended to be. So You Can't Make Me is this idea of doing something for yourself. I think it's really important to have something that you do that you're proud of and that you want to do it for no other reason than doing it. I think when I think about like today's culture, it's really easy to get sucked into being just a viewer of the world and not a creator of it. There's a million internet videos on YouTube that you could sit and watch all day, but do you want your kids to remember you by, my dad was really good at watching YouTube videos, or do you want to do something that actually adds value to the world and you're doing it for your reason that's about you as a person and what's meaningful to you. Making with your bare hands is something that I like to do a lot. Just moved back to Chicago from Boulder, and the first thing I did is I started like making stuff in my backyard. I built a fire pit back there, and I built like a tree fort, and I dug a sand pit for my kids. And there's something really great about just like making something real. I spend a lot of time on my computer, you know. I'm a designer, a web developer, and an entrepreneur, and I think it's really important to step away from that and do something that's real sometimes. Let's see. This is an important one. It's really important to, I think, get ideas out of your head. I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of us have huge ideas in our head that are oftentimes overwhelming, that we never even get started on because we think we need to get this, and this done before we can even begin. But I find that it's good to just simply open a notebook and start drawing out what the homepage looks like, or write out the first sentence of what it means, and just start working on it. Like, get it out of your head and start making it real. We do this a lot. We do a float in the parade every year, and where we started, we're just like, what is the float going to look like? And we start drawing it. We don't really talk about it too much. We actually work on it on a piece of paper. And this can be a great way to get bad ideas off of your agenda too, because I feel like once you start doing it, you realize, oh wait, maybe this wasn't actually such a good idea. This is maybe a little controversial, but I think that the best time to do something like this is actually when you're supposed to be doing something else, because it's hard to go home when you want to relax, and that's when you're going to be like going to the TV or just trying to be entertained. But honestly, when you're at work, supposed to be working on something, if you can take 20 minutes away from that, working on something for yourself, it's kind of the best time to do it. Can even be building a prototype for something too, not just sketching it. This is make and make and make till you're dizzy. I think the best fuel for continuing to get ideas out of your head is to keep doing it, make it habitual, get into the cycle, like try to push yourself to watch less TV, or stop doing things where you're a viewer and start actually acting, and it'll turn into something that's just a part of your life that you do. Around Threadless, we try to do this, like, instead of, if you have some downtime going and browsing Facebook, we have places all over our office where you can go just like doodle on the wall, or create. During Christmas, we put out a huge table around our Christmas tree of like crafting stuff, where it's just come down and make an ornament or something for the tree and do something productive with your downtime. And then you get into the habit of that being like, that's what you do. I actually am making things all the time. Making something cool every day is a great challenge that this guy, Ollie Moss, started in the Threadless community. And a lot of Threadless artists do this now, that they challenge themselves to make something cool every day. And it can be a small thing. But I try to do this with my family too. Like my wife and kids were working on this project to create a visitor center in our hometown for this there's a corner in our hometown that always has literally hundreds of shoes on it in Indiana. Nobody knows where the shoes come from. So my wife and kids and I are trying to make like a visitor center, and we're coming up with all these stories about why this is happening and going to build it there. It's kind of weird, but it could be as simple as cutting a banana and taking a picture of it and putting it on your, just doing little creative projects to keep your brain going every single day. This is just a sheet of paper with blue and red thread, just a little art project. Here's a fatal airplane crash. Like, the thing that you make every day does not have to be grand. Making with friends, I think, is really important. Like that tree fort that I built a while back wouldn't have been very fun if I was just going and hanging out in it by myself. It's good to have buddies that you connect with that are helping you do this. If you're an entrepreneur looking for a co-founder, or like a musician, you're looking for bandmates, or you're a writer and you're looking for like an illustrator of your book, whatever it is, I think the best way to find those people is to make friends with people and then start making things with your friends. My co-founder and I met on a forum online where we started challenging each other to these JavaScript battles in the late 90s, where you could like hijack a user's web browser and make it just go in circles, and then we made it go in different shapes, and we were like battling back and forth on this, and then we ended up starting Threadless together because we got into this groove of making projects together. So this is another project I did just this year, where I have a friend who's like a carpenter, and I thought it'd be cool if you could score Threadless designs in an arcade cabinet style interface. So I got a little circuit board that I was allowed to, or it allowed me to hook up these buttons to different keys on the keyboard. And I built a little arcade cabinet. I did the tech side of it, and he built the actual cabinet. And we did this kind of like for a couple hours every night for a week. And now it turned into a thing where we're working with major retailers that might even put little scoring machines into their shops, which is kind of cool. Finding opportunities for things you make, I think, is it's really about. I mean, the internet makes it so easy for the world to be able to react to things. I think before, when the world was a lot smaller, you think about like art and craft fairs and stuff. They were very local, and as a crafter, you could only, you make your thing, and then you take it to the local craft fair, and maybe a couple hundred people will see it. But now you can take a picture and put it up on your Tumblr, Flickr, Twitter, just show the things that you're doing to people and let them react to it. Don't just have it sit in the corner. And you can even, like, Etsy, you can do really productive things with the things you make. Or Kickstarter is another good example of places that allow you to take these little projects and turn them into bigger things that have meaning behind them. But so the whole point of all this is just, I think it's really easy to get locked into a routine. It's, I think you can get too comfortable and or stuck in a rut, or kind of you get stagnant. And I think that the best thing you can do to get out of that is to get back into making things. And I think you should start now.